Strawberries, nutritious, delicious, and in the right landscape setting, can also be a great ornamental plant as well. In this video, I'm going to give you my tips, tricks, hacks on growing strawberries. We will talk about site selection, variety selection, how to fertilize, how to harvest, and so much more. Hi, I'm Dr. Tom Warren, and you're watching The Plant Doctor. Let's get started. So why should you plant strawberries in your garden? Well, like with any other fruit, strawberries oftentimes are picked when they're not ripe. They're shipped to an ethylene house to ripen in an ethylene house, and then they are taken to a grocery store for end users to consume. And this is great because we can get strawberries in times of the year when oftentimes we can't get strawberries otherwise. However, when strawberries or any other fruit for that matter is picked off of the plant before it's fully ripened, we're not getting as many sugars into the fruit. We're also not getting as many nutrients into that fruit as well. So homegrown fruits in general, including strawberries, are going to be sweeter and they're going to have more nutrients to them as well. Site selection for strawberries is imperative if we're going to have a good crop in the spring in the summer months. We want to select an area that gets full sun. The more full sun, the better. For example, here behind me, this is not a good area to grow strawberries and expect to have a lot of fruit. The plant itself would be okay in a shady location like this, but the more sun that we can provide the strawberry plant, the more fruit that it's going to produce for it. Try to find an area in your yard that gets 8 or more hours of direct sunlight per day, and your strawberries will do much better for you. One thing you need to be aware of if you're planting strawberries in the ground, strawberries have rhizomes, and this is how they spread naturally. So they'll have a mother plant, and there'll be a vegetative shoot come off of it, and there'll be a clump of leaves, and underneath that clump of leaves you can get new roots to emerge. Now this can be a good thing or a bad thing. So if you have a bed that you can solely dedicate to growing strawberries, this is great. You just let the whole bed over a series of years fill up with strawberries. However, if you're planting strawberries in the landscape with other plants, in particular ground covers, strawberries may outcompete those. So an alternative for you might be to plant in a pot. That's what I have to do in my yard. I have lots of flowers here, and so the strawberries always go in a pot just to keep them from competing with other plants. Once you have identified the correct growing location for your strawberry, it's time to select what type of strawberry that you want to grow. And there's a myriad of cultivars and varieties of strawberries. There's literally hundreds on the market. However, we can group them into 3 main groups. We have early bearing strawberries, mid-season strawberries, late season strawberries, and that's what you see here on this chart. We have a list of early, mid, and late season berries. So maybe what you want to consider doing is have 3 pots or 3 areas in your landscape and dedicate those areas or those pots to early season, mid-season, late season, and you can have strawberries beginning in April, running all the way until the first frost in your area, which for me is early November. I'll also scour Amazon and some other sites to see if I can find those cultivars mentioned on that chart. If so, I'll leave those links down in the description below. And if you elect to purchase a strawberry from one of those links, you'll help us out just a little bit here on the channel. It's very important that we select proper soil conditions for strawberries. Once we've selected an area that's full sun and we're either going to put them in pots or in the ground, we have to make a decision about what we're going to do with soil. Now, if we're in a pot, you'll want to use a soil mix that's light and well drained. Strawberries do not like to be saturated. They like a constantly moist environment, but not being saturated. If you're receiving rain once a week and you're equaling 1 to 2 inches of rain during those periods, you don't have to water at all. But if you're starting to get rain on an infrequent basis where you're moderate to mild drought conditions, you may have to supplemental water. The same holds true if you're growing in native soil. Strawberries are not going to like heavy clays. They're not going to like heavy sands either. If you have heavy clays or heavy sands, you'll want to amend your soil with compost or manures. Till that in really well before planting your strawberries. Once we've selected an area that we're going to plant our strawberries, what I like to do while it's still in the pot is go ahead and dig a hole the same size or slightly larger than the pot itself. So we'll dig down, and not so much deeper than the pot, but wider than the pot is. And that looks about right. When you take your strawberry plant out of its container, I don't want you to just grab it by the foliage here. You may separate the roots from the foliage. Massage the pot a little bit, turn it upside down, and it should just slide right out. So we have good, healthy roots here. You can see here, these roots, what I'm looking for is that they're white. There's no gray or black spots on these roots. And we're going to plant our strawberry where the top of the root ball is level with the soil layer of the potting mix. And if you're doing this in the ground, it's the same process. And so when we're done, it looks something like this. A pro tip for you here. As your strawberries mature, you get fruit. You want to keep the strawberries off of the soil, regardless if it's a potting mix or if you're doing native soil plantings. They're notorious for getting fungus. So what we want to do to help prevent that is come in. We're going to put pine straw underneath all of these strawberries here. And as the strawberries grow and mature, they'll come through this pine straw really well. And as that fruit begins to set and gets larger and larger, the fruit's not setting on the soil, but it's setting on this pine straw that we're putting in the pot. And the same thing applies for native soil plantings. You'll want to have some sort of barrier between your strawberries and your soil to prevent fungus from growing on your strawberries. In terms of fertilizing strawberries, you want to do this in early spring when you see that new growth start to emerge. And I like to use an organic product from Espoma. And this is holly tone. They also have a berry tone. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, Dr. Warren, why would I put holly tone on my strawberries when they make a berry tone? I have a pro tip for you here. If you read the guaranteed analysis on the bag, so fertilizers have a guaranteed analysis on every single bag of fertilizer that's sold. It's federal law. They have to put it on there. Read the guaranteed analysis of berry tone. Read the guaranteed analysis of holly tone. It's the exact same thing. Shh. So if you can't find berry tone, use holly tone, and you're going to get the exact same results. I'll leave a link for both of those down in the description below. Hopefully that'll help you out. It'll save you a trip to the store, and you can have it delivered straight to your front door. You can also use a synthetic fertilizer. I prefer Osmocote Slow Release. This is a 6-month slow release fertilizer. It has all of our macronutrients in it, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, but it also has all of those micronutrients that plants need as well. So there's 18 nutrients that plants need in order to be healthy, and Osmocote has all of those in there at the right amounts. And you're not going to burn your plants with Osmocote either. They have a guaranteed no burn policy with their fertilizers because it releases so slowly. And you're going to have great strawberries throughout the growing season if you use the Espoma product or Osmocote. Unfortunately, insects love strawberries just as much as we do. So once your strawberries are growing, you'll want to check them weekly for insects. One insect you'll want to look for in particular are aphids. Now aphids are very small and they're going to be on the underside of the leaf. So what you want to do is come out, turn over a leaf, just do some random scouting to select random leaves, and you're looking for tiny little insects on the bottom of the leaf. If you see those, you can use an insecticidal soap to get rid of them. So insecticidal soaps, most of them are going to be organic, so you don't have to worry too much about poisoning your dogs or your cats or whoever else may be eating your strawberries. They're going to be safe to use. If you see hard body insects, for example, Japanese beetles, they love to feed on the leaves of strawberries. You can use BT to get rid of those. So BT stands for Bacillus thuringiensis. That's the scientific name for a bacteria that naturally occurs in our soils that's toxic to insects, but it's not toxic to mammals. So you don't have to worry about your dogs, your cats, your children, your spouse, your friends, whoever getting sick from this, but it will help keep those insects away from your strawberries. A benefit to growing strawberries is you can transplant strawberries. Those rhizomes that we mentioned earlier, those runners that come off of the parent plant, when they root, you can dig those up, put those in a pot, and then you have a new strawberry plant that you can plant somewhere else, or you can give away to friends or family. So this is a really great way to produce new strawberry plants. However, I want you to be aware that with your new plant, it could take up to 3 years before it produces any fruit at all. So if you elect to repot your strawberry runners and give them away to friends, give them a heads up that, hey, I'm giving you this now, so in the future, a couple years from now, you can have some fruit as well. I hope this video helps you be successful at growing strawberries in your yard and landscape. If you have a tip, trick, or hack that we did not discuss in this video, please share those down in the comments below. We're a community of learners here on the channel, and I would love to learn something from you, the viewer. Guys, as always, thank you for watching The Plant Doctor, and until next time, happy gardening.